All right, so we have some news coming out of day one of training camp. So the Detroit Lions have opened up practice with three players on injury list. That is Hendon Hooker, who remains on the NFI list, and Marvin Jones Jr. landed on the NFI list, as well as Emmanuel Mosley, who landed on the PUP list. Derek Deese Jr. and Zach Morton, who were placed on the NFI list, were off the practice list, or I'm sorry, were off the injury list 24 hours after being placed originally on that NFI list. And they were designated for practicing for today's practice. Now, today we also seen Tracy Walker, Frank Ragnow, and Levi Onwuzurike also at practice. And we seen that Charles Harris is actually getting an expanded role on the Detroit Lions defense. In day one, they seen him as a Sam linebacker. Obviously, he is still an edge rusher, but they also are trying to expand his role a little bit, kind of like what we did with James Houston a little bit. So you've seen him jump out in coverage. You've seen him, on the line in that stand-up position, kind of exactly like what we did with him in 2021, where he had that breakout season. Now, also, we've seen James Houston and Julian Alcawara also splitting reps on that second unit as the Sam linebacker. And we've also seen the interior defensive line. They have three lineups. This is why I tell everybody that with the defensive line, I think that we're pretty well set. Although, hey, if you can move the needle and add another player, I'm all for it. But the three defensive lines are, obviously with the starting lineup, it's Aleem McNeil and Isaiah Buggs. With the second unit, it is Christian Covington and Broderick Martin. And then on that third line, it's Levi Onwuzurike and Benito Jones. Because they are trying to take it a little bit slow with Levi Onwuzurike with his back injury. Obviously, you know that he has been injured the past 2 seasons, heading into his 3rd season. So they're trying to take it a little slow with him, get him acclimated to the speed of the game, things of that nature, and away he can go. And hopefully he can make an impact for the Detroit Lions. Now, they have a new hybrid nickel role where obviously C.J. Gardner-Johnson was the starter in that nickel position. And then they had Brian Branch backing him up. And what they're going to do with that is they're going to have them attacking or lining up over receivers, attacking the line, and dropping to safety in that hybrid role. And they also have, obviously with the safeties, they had Tracy Walker and Kirby Joseph starting. And then they had Ifatu Melifonwu on that second team. Those are the three clear top options at this time. And CJ Mosley, again, he landed on PUP list, so he's not able to perform, which led to Jerry Jacobs snagging a starting role opposite of Cameron Sutton. And Will Harris spent most of the time not inside in the slot, but actually outside on that second unit. So that is something to keep an eye out on for training camp as we're heading into battle. And opposite of Harris on that second unit was Starling Thomas the fifth, which is a undrafted free agent. So I know a lot of the fan base is excited about Starling Thomas the fifth, and he's getting second team reps opposite of Will Harris. Also on the third year, or I'm sorry, on the third team, they seen Chase Lucas opposite of Starling Thomas, and they had Will Harris on that third outside corner position. Now, Chase Lucas and Thomas Uh, Thomas kind of pulled double duties, leaving Jaron Williams and undrafted free agent Stephen Gilmore on the final group. And they also opened up battle at the starting right guard position. You didn't see Halapoulivaati Vaitai starting, but they seen Graham Glasgow starting on the starting lineup at right guard. Obviously, because Halapoulivaati Vaitai did suffer an injury, a back injury that ended his not ended his career, but ended his season in 2022. I'm telling you, I'll get it right. But they seen Graham Glasgow starting. That's something that you're going to kind of want to keep an eye out on heading into training camp as well as training camp develops. And a minor change with the second team, they saw Matt Nelson at the left tackle position, allowing Jermaine Ifedi to stick at right tackle where he's a little bit more comfortable. I'm going to try and pronounce this kid's name, but Ross Pierschbacher was at center, and Darren Paulo surprisingly got the nod over Kyoto Awasaka. Hopefully I said his name correctly. But that's going to be, something to keep an eye out. And Logan Stenberg, I mean, he was a 5th round draft pick, 6th round draft pick. The last draft class of the Boston Turds era, aka the Bob Quinn era. And he's really just kind of falling down the list of, hey, next man up mentality. He's going the opposite way. So something to keep an eye out. Maybe he is a roster bubble guy, and who knows if he lands on the 53-man roster. But that's something to keep an eye out on is Logan Stenberg. He was with the third stringers. And we did not see Denzel Mims in today's practice. He's trying to get himself acclimated to the team, learn the playbook, and then he'll be added to the training camp team reps. So we didn't get to see him in team reps, but he did individual drills, and he's on the sidelines working out and trying to get the playbook down and things of that nature. And for the rest of the pass catchers, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond were the starters. And it seemed to work well with Jared Goff. And Tom Kennedy stood out in the second team drills with Maurice Alexander, who looked smooth during punt return drills. So that's another thing that we're going to keep an eye out for. Who's going to be that return man? Maurice Alexander kind of was smooth during those punt return drills. And then we had more skilled players were, as expected, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs splitting starter reps, with Craig Reynolds taking third running back 3 reps. Justin Jackson stood out most on special teams, with top option Jack Fox as obviously the punter. Tight end position, they rotated Brock Wright, Sam Laporta, and Shane Zylstra throughout the top 3 units. And Laporta caught everyone's attention with his flash on offense, picking up where he left off in spring. James Mitchell was repping as tight end 4. A little bit surprising, but obviously day 1 of training camp, he has a plethora of time to move up the list. I mean, we haven't even got to open to public training camp. So, these early training camp days, they're just trying to get their feet wet a little bit and things of that nature. Taking them slow to get back up to full speed. And so that's going to be something to kind of keep an eye out. Not too much, but, something to keep an eye out on is James Mitchell as tight end 4. And we also seen today, obviously, Khalif Raymond coming off second team All-Pro honors. He was the punt returner, and then he was first up, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown was used in emergency situations. Alexander worked to find out a role on the roster as well. Gibbs also fielded some punts, but was clear 4th option. So they're trying to experiment a little bit with the punt return, but we've seen some guys and some guys that we don't want to see at punt return aka Amon Ra. But obviously, hey, sticky situations. It's all hands on deck. Anybody can be there. So hopefully we don't have to use him, and he's just an emergency. But we did see Amon Ra taking punt return reps. And the gunner role, we seen Brian Branch and Antoine Green, as well as Melifonwu, all kind of battling for those gunner roles. And that's really about it for training camp. But man, it feels good to give some real news coming out. Finally, we got training camp. We've had some some breaking news leading up to it, but outside of that, it's good to have some real news coming out from the Lions organization. We are back to football, man. We are back. So obviously, we're gonna have a lot more content coming out. And if you got some value in this video, definitely give it a thumbs up, as that does help. It's not required, but appreciated. Obviously, y'all know what to do. We're trying to grow this community. We need 124 subscribers to reach that illustrious 1,000. That's 7% in the YouTube game. So, hey, hopefully I can get to the 7%. And with that being said, I will see y'all in the next video, because grit don't quit one pride, baby. Peace. Man, it feels good. Football is back, baby. Woo!